My friends, most of us think that winning means proving our point. We argue to be right, not to be wise. We want the last word, even if it costs us our peace. But life has its own way of teaching us that not every battle is fought with words. Some are won with silence. There was a time when I used to reply instantly to every opinion, every criticism, every judgment, until one day I realized something powerful. The more I talked, the less I learned, the quieter I became, the more I understood. And that day I stopped talking to be heard and started listening to grow. Because when you stop talking, not out of ego but out of awareness, you start hearing the truth that words often hide. And in that silence you find wisdom, peace and strength. Silence is power, not weakness. You see, in a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who chooses to stay silent often becomes the one who is truly understood. People think silence means defeat, that if you don't respond, you've lost the argument. But the truth is, silence doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've risen above the need to prove yourself. There's a certain elegance in restraint, a kind of unseen strength in holding your tongue when your mind is on fire, the ability to stay calm when everything around you is screaming for a reaction. That's real power. Anyone can raise their voice. It takes nothing to shout. To stay quiet when you could easily explode, that requires maturity, awareness, and emotional intelligence. Have you ever noticed the most powerful people, the ones who truly influence others? They don't talk much. They choose their words like gold because they know that words once spoken can't be taken back. Silence gives them time to think, to understand, and to respond from wisdom rather than impulse. I remember a moment in my own life when someone said something very hurtful to me. Every cell in my body wanted to reply, to defend myself, to explain my truth. But something inside whispered, wait. So I stayed silent. Days later, that same person came back and said, I expected you to react, but you didn't. And that made me realize how wrong I was. In that moment, I understood silence had spoken for me. Because when you remain silent, you give the other person space to hear their own noise. You allow their conscience to echo louder than your voice ever could. Silence can humble, heal, and teach in ways that words never can. Silence doesn't mean surrender. It means you're secure enough not to need validation. It means you trust your truth so deeply that you don't need to announce it to anyone. It's not about ignoring others. It's about preserving your peace. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Let silence be your strength. Let peace be your reply. Because power is not in speaking the loudest. It's in staying calm enough to hear everything, yet wise enough to say nothing. When you master that, you don't just win arguments, you win yourself. Every word you speak carries energy. Every sentence you form costs a part of your peace. Most people don't realize this, but talking endlessly, arguing pointlessly, and explaining constantly is like leaking your life force drop by drop. You don't see it immediately, but over time, it drains your inner calm, your focus, and your joy. Think about it. How often do we exhaust ourselves trying to make someone understand our perspective? We repeat, we justify, we defend. And yet at the end of it, we feel more empty than relieved. Because the truth is, energy flows where attention goes. And when we spend our attention on noise, we have nothing left for what truly matters. Growth, peace, purpose. There was a time when I felt I had to answer every question, respond to every comment, and explain every action. It felt necessary, as if silence would make me appear weak or wrong. But the more I spoke, the more I realized I wasn't winning anything. I was just getting tired. My peace was slowly being traded for the illusion of being understood. That's when I discovered something powerful. And not every truth needs to be spoken, and not every misunderstanding needs to be cleared. Words are like currency. Spend them wisely. When you waste your words on people who don't listen, on arguments that go nowhere, you bankrupt your spirit. Every unnecessary conversation chips away at your clarity. But when you stay silent, when you choose your words with awareness, your energy starts to build like water stored behind a dam. It becomes powerful, purposeful, focused. Notice how peaceful you feel after a moment of stillness. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop reacting, that's your energy returning home. That's the sound of your soul recharging. You don't lose energy because life is hard. You lose it because you keep giving it away through endless words that serve no purpose. Silence, on the other hand, preserves your strength. It keeps your emotional battery charged. It gives you space to listen, to reflect, and to understand what truly deserves your voice. Because when you speak less, your words start to mean more. They carry weight, depth, and impact. So before you speak, ask yourself, is it worth my energy? Will these words bring peace or just more noise? If the answer is no, then choose silence. Because silence doesn't just protect your energy, it multiplies it. And that energy, when guarded and focused, becomes your power to rise, to create, and to win without ever having to shout. You learn more when you listen. It sounds simple, almost too simple. Yet, it's one of the greatest truths of life. Most people don't really listen. They just wait for their turn to speak. They hear the words but not the meaning. They listen to reply, not to understand. And because of that, they miss the lessons hidden between the pauses, the wisdom carried in silence, and the beauty of truly connecting with another human being. When you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But when you listen, you open the door to everything you don't. Listening is how you grow beyond yourself. It's how you expand your awareness, your empathy, your understanding of the world in a conversation. It's not the loudest voice that wins. It's the one that listens deeply enough to see the truth beneath the noise. There was a time when I thought confidence meant speaking a lot, sharing my thoughts, my opinions, my advice. I wanted to contribute, to add value. But then I met people who spoke less and listened more, and their presence alone carried more power than 1,000 words. When they finally did speak, every sentence felt like a drop of gold. I realized that listening isn't passive. It's one of the most active forms of intelligence. Listening requires humility. It means accepting that maybe, just maybe, you don't know everything. That there's something to learn even from those you disagree with. True listening is not just hearing sounds. It's reading emotions, sensing intentions, and feeling the energy behind the words. It's the willingness to step out of your own story and step into someone else's world for a moment. When you listen, people open up. They feel seen, heard, and valued, and that's one of the deepest needs of the human heart. Listening heals relationships faster than explanations ever can. Sometimes people don't need your advice. They just need your attention. And in that quiet space of listening, miracles happen. Arguments dissolve, hearts soften, and understanding grows. There's a deep stillness in listening. Start to hear not just others but yourself. In the silence of listening, you become aware of your own thoughts, your own reactions. You begin to see patterns. How your mind rushes to judge, how your ego wants to interrupt. And in that awareness, you grow. Listening becomes meditation. It becomes a practice of mindfulness in motion. So try this next time you're in a conversation. Slow down. Don't rush to speak. Observe, feel, listen with your eyes, your heart, and your soul. You'll notice things you never did before. The tone, the pauses, the emotions that words try to hide. That's where true understanding lives. Because life is always speaking to us through people, through moments, through silence. But we can't hear it if we're always talking. When you learn to listen, you don't just understand others. You begin to understand life itself. And that understanding is the foundation of all wisdom. Reactions reveal, silence conceals. The moment you react, you hand over your power. You let someone else dictate your emotional state. You become a puppet pulled by the strings of your own impulses. But the moment you pause, the moment you breathe before responding, you reclaim your strength. Because in that stillness lies your choice to rise above or to fall into the same chaos you're observing. You see, every reaction is a mirror. It doesn't show who the other person is. It shows who you are in that moment. When someone criticizes you, mocks you, or provokes you, your reaction becomes a reflection of your maturity. If you respond with anger, it means they've touched a wound. If you stay calm, it means you've healed that wound. The situation doesn't define you. Your reaction does. I remember once being in a heated argument. The other person's words were sharp, filled with emotion meant to sting. My heart raced. My mind wanted to fire back, but something within whispered, "Don't give it away." So I stayed silent. For a few seconds it was uncomfortable. My ego screamed, "Say something." But then, as the noise passed, I saw clearly. My silence had diffused the fire. The other person's anger slowly burned out because there was no fuel left to feed it. That's the hidden magic of silence. It disarms chaos. When you react immediately, you're driven by emotion, not awareness. You give others the power to control how you feel. But when you choose silence, you shift that power back to yourself. You observe instead of absorb. You start seeing things as they are, not as your emotions paint them to be. That's where wisdom begins, not in speaking, but in seeing without reacting. Silence conceals what's sacred within you. It protects your peace like armor. When you don't react, people can't predict you. They can't manipulate you. They can't disturb you. You become mysterious, grounded, powerful. Your calmness begins to confuse the chaos around you. And that's how silence wins. Not by dominating others, but by mastering yourself. It's not that silence means you ignore what's happening. It means you choose to respond when your emotions are balanced, not when they're boiling. You take your time to understand, to reflect, to decide what deserves your voice. Because every reaction is an investment, and not every situation is worth your energy. Think about nature. When storms come, mountains don't move. They stay silent, still unshaken. That's the kind of strength silence gives you. It allows you to stand firm no matter how loud the world becomes. It's not suppression, it's self-control. And self-control is the foundation of inner power. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, smile within yourself and remember, their words are a test, not a truth. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Let silence be your response. Let peace be your posture. Because the one who can remain calm when others are losing control, that person has already won the battle without saying a single word. Silence can heal relationships in ways that words never could. We often think that communication is the key to connection, and it is. But what we don't realize is that sometimes silence is communication. Not the cold silence of distance or ego, but the warm silence of patience, understanding, and love. The kind of silence that says, "I may not agree with you right now, but I still care." In most relationships, the biggest wounds are not caused by differences, but by reactions. It's not what we say that breaks the bond. It's how we say it. Words spoken in anger, even if they're true, can leave scars that last for years. And sometimes, in our desire to fix things instantly, we end up saying too much. We over-explain, we overreact, we over-talk. And the more we try to fix it with words, the more tangled it becomes. Silence, on the other hand, creates space. It gives both hearts room to breathe, to cool down, to understand what truly matters beyond the heat of the moment. There was a couple I once knew who used to argue almost every week. Both were kind-hearted, but both wanted to be right. Every disagreement became a battle of words. Who could explain better? Who could justify faster? But one day, something shifted. During an argument, the husband stopped mid-sentence, stayed quiet, and just listened. For the first time, the wife cried instead of shouting. That silence gave her permission to feel. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about understanding. From that day, their fights reduced. They learned that sometimes the best way to fix a relationship is not to speak, but to stay quietly, lovingly, patiently. When you choose silence in love, you're not avoiding communication. You're deepening it. You're saying I'm choosing peace over pride, because not every moment demands an answer. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is listen or even step back and allow the storm to pass. In silence, emotions settle. And when emotions settle, clarity returns. That's when genuine communication can begin, not from the place of defense, but from understanding. We live in a world where people confuse silence with indifference, but in truth, silence in relationships often takes more strength than words. It takes restraint to not respond when you're misunderstood. It takes maturity to stay calm when someone else is angry. It takes wisdom to know that timing matters more than talking. The right words at the wrong time can still hurt. Silence, when chosen with awareness, gives you the gift of timing, the chance to say the right thing when hearts are ready to listen. Have you noticed how silence also teaches forgiveness? When you stop talking, you start listening to your heart. You realize that being right is not as important as being kind. You start to see the other person's pain beneath their words, their fears behind their actions. That realization transforms your anger into empathy. You stop trying to win the argument and start trying to win the person back. That's how silence heals. It transforms reaction into reflection. So next time you find yourself in the middle of a fight, take a step back, breathe, say less. Maybe say nothing at all. Let silence do the talking for a while. Let love take a deep breath. Because when words fail, silence speaks softly, truthfully, and powerfully. It reminds both hearts of what truly matters. Not who was right, but what is worth protecting. And that's the beauty of silence. It doesn't just end conflicts, it restores connection. Not every opinion deserves a response. This truth, when understood deeply, can save you from endless frustration, exhaustion, and emotional chaos. Because the world is full of noise, opinions, judgments, assumptions, and voices trying to define who you are, what you should do, and how you should live. And if you keep reacting to every single one of them, you'll spend your entire life trying to explain yourself instead of living yourself. We live in a time where everyone has something to say, especially about things that don't concern them. People judge quickly without context, without understanding, without compassion. Some will misunderstand you simply because they're looking through the lens of their own pain, jealousy, or insecurity. And here's the truth. No matter how pure your intentions are, there will always be someone ready to twist your story. If you try to explain yourself to everyone, you lose yourself in the process. I've learned that peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being aligned. Aligned with your truth, your purpose, and your own conscience. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Some people don't want to understand you. They just want to drain you. They listen not to learn, but to argue. They question not to understand, but to find fault. And when you engage with that kind of energy, you feed the very thing that steals your peace. There was a time in my life when I used to explain myself too much. I wanted everyone to see my side.